Welcome everybody to a look into the future. And this is our special end of 2020 episode. Ready to put 2020 behind us and move into 2021 with the time traveler himself. And speaking of the end of the year in time travel, we got to ask Paul. Paul, where are we going? We cut to the chase. Where are we going in 2021? 2020 was crazy. Where are we going in 2021?
Yeah, hi Garrett. Indeed, 2020 was a crazy year. And before I forget to say anything, a belated Merry Christmas, but particularly a Happy New Year to all your listeners. Yeah, okay, where are we going? I actually knew you were going to ask me this sort of question. As you say, it's very much the traditional question at the end of the year. So I have prepared a few notes. So you often talk about me being a time traveler, Garrett, and I think, one of the benefits of looking back over time is that you can get perspective on change. And this is one of my favorite little quadrant diagrams, if you like. And I look back here to 2012, and the only reason 2012 was that was really when I came to the US. That's when I moved to the US. And I started talking to CPAs then because it was sort of obvious to me that they had a problem. But even though it was obvious to me with my perspective of having been, going through change in the UK 20 years ago, for CPAs here, the problem was what I would call latent. They sort of got it, but in many ways, the issues were concealed. And when I talked to them about fixing it and making some changes, I'm paraphrasing, but essentially it was aspirational. Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice to change. So, when I look back at 2012, what we had were concealed CPA issues, no urgency to change. If we now look at where we are today, and you can see the two words that I put in red there, blatant and critical. So the CPA problems have moved from being concealed and latent. They are now blatant. And the attitude of certainly the CPAs that recognize it, it's gone from being aspirational to critical. And, when we were in, let's just say 2019, it wasn't entirely obvious to me where we were in that quadrant diagram. If you'd have pushed me, I'd have said, we've just entered the blatant and critical stage. But if we now look as we enter 2021, I don't think there's any doubt whatsoever. We've moved from latent and aspirational, and it's blatant and critical. And the issues are really obvious. And talking about 2020 has been a really weird year. 2020 has massively accelerated the blatantness, if you like, of the issues. But the issues are obvious. And certainly my message is, the need to change is now critical for any CPA who is not basically almost imminently retiring, which is obviously most CPAs. And certainly at Hayden Rock or Elite Mastermind, where we talk to a lot of CPAs, we only really ask them two questions, but in one. Do you have the desire for change, and are you ready for change? Do you recognize you need to change, and do you have the desire for change? And basically CPAs fall into two categories. The ones that essentially say, yeah, no, not really. We just put them in what we call the boiling CPA pile, sort of the boiling frog, if you like. The ones that just are willing to let the water heat up and boil around them without noticing that they're in imminent danger. But the other ones who say, yeah, I'm ready for change, I have desire for change. The message really is, there's still a big opportunity, but I actually now think, to use a phrase, the train is leaving the station as we move out of 2020 and we move into 2021. And so in terms of that readiness for change and desire for change, I sort of think there's only two changes, really, only two big changes. And one of them has happened in 2020. But the two big changes are, I think, sort of first and foremost, the CPA has to become what you and I call most relevant advisor, not just trusted, but actually relevant to the needs of their clients. And that's a mindset shift. And if the CPA becomes most relevant advisor, as we'll see over there, we're going to move to step 2, the ability to help the client, and I call it maximize client potential. But step 1, it's a mindset shift, and that's all you need. It's just a mindset shift. I'm not going to be reactive. I'm going to be proactive. I'm not just going to look backwards. I'm going to look forwards. And, I said this to clients 20 odd years ago. I am not a mind reader, and I need you to, for me to be proactive, I need you to help me. And that means doing a diagnostic. Help me. I can't tell by looking at you. Help me to understand your needs. And if I can understand your needs, I basically get a pretty good idea of where you want to go, your direction, and your goals. And that's all the CPA has to do. Have a mindset of being, I'm going to proactively ask the client, I'm going to look forwards, not backwards, and I'm going to understand their needs. And if I do that, what the client needs becomes incredibly obvious. And that means you can help them to solve their problems and maximize their potential. And that basically means solutions. And I would say 99% of client solutions are not what CPAs do. Yes, they do accounts and tax returns and things, but clients have a myriad of needs, and almost inevitably, most of them are not what the CPA does. And great if that's what they need, but it's probably not what the CPA offers. But if the CPA can position themselves so that they're at the center of a hub with their client, what 2020 has shown us and has hugely accelerated is that we can provide expertise in a virtual way and collaborate with clients and solve problems so that the CPA becomes the hero. The CPA is the most relevant advisor. They're at the center of this virtual hub. And the great opportunity for CPAs is even the smallest CPA can win by using virtual expertise. You don't have to employ them. You don't have to spend any money. You only use them when the client needs them. So even the smallest CPA can win as we enter 2021. And it's just those 2 shifts. Mindset is absolutely required. Ability to solve problems. And what 2020 has really done, and it's probably the only thing that's good in my mind that's happened in 2020, is that virtual's now become the norm. And where CPAs were reluctant to use virtual, it's just the norm. And it's forced everyone to change. So step 2 is incredibly easy. Everyone's got used to doing it. Just need step 1 now. I think that to me is the message from 2020 going into 2021, Garrett.
Yeah, and really 2020 really helped pivot that to that maximize client potential and solutions, because everyone this year was looking for solutions that weren't about a tax return or an audit. It was about, how do I survive as a client, as a business owner? The chaos that was 2020, and you had some practices here as a firm owner, no matter where you sit on that continuum, like Paul said, from boiling frog to you're ready, you did some form of it this year. Maybe you were successful, maybe you weren't. And it's time to build off that. Get that team around you, like Paul said, whether you work with Elite or Hayden Rock or anybody else, you're poised with all this transformation to really make a great year out of 2021.
Yeah, and I think it's, I always use, as you know, Gareth, I'm full of metaphors, but to me, it's like swimming, and CPAs are notoriously reluctant to change, and we were forcing them before to go swimming out of their depth. And certainly the virtual thing was an example of that. We were sort of forcing them, but because of 2020, they've had to swim. They've had to use virtual. They've had to embrace change. I mean, even like last week, I'm shocked by 1 or 2 of them. There was a guy, I had a Zoom meeting. It was on a black screen. He hadn't got a camera on his computer. So I was talking to him on a black screen. I'm thinking, seriously, how do you expect to survive in 2021 if you can't even work your camera on a Zoom meeting? But he's the exception, not the rule, I think now. Most of these CPAs have got in the water. They've learned to use virtual. They've learned to swim. They've realized they can do it. And the mindset shift is just down to them. So
then, Paul, with that continued metaphor, they've taken the plunge. They're in the water. They just got to keep swimming now in the water in 2021 and not get out, dry off, and be like, hey, I'm good. I did that once in 2020, but
Yeah,
I'm
exactly. And that would be odd if you think about it. I mean, kids who learn to swim or ride a bike, what you don't then do is say, oh, good, I've learned to swim or ride a bike. Tell you what, I'm no longer going to bother to get in the water or get on my bike. And that's sort of not what kids do. And that's not what we learn to do. I think what's happened in 2020 is the scariness of using virtual has gone. There is no reason to be scared. We've learned how to do it. We've survived. Maybe we had to put our water wings on, but nonetheless, we've survived. And I think it's become really obvious that this is possible. And then obviously it's slightly easier said than done, but that's sort of what we do. We provide a virtual family office. We provide a ready-made set of experts. All you have to do is click on it, and there's your virtual experts. And it's 10 minutes of a job.
And that's what it's about, making it easy for yourself and for your clients. So, Paul, thank you for sharing this wonderful knowledge with us as we wrap up a crazy 2020. Everybody watching, thank you for listening. Get ready for 2021. Stay tuned for more episodes. And as always, reach out to us. We're happy to chat with you anytime about how you can become the most relevant advisor to your clients. Thanks, everybody.